In this episode of Ricky remembers his favorite kinds of bread while growing up in the Philippines. Now, before we get to today's episode, I want to thank everyone who viewed the past two episodes, the one about the shoe stores and the popular bars. We now have a total of almost 400 views from those two videos alone. That might not be a lot for some, but for me, it means the world. That's a lot of views for Ricky Remembers, and I thank you for that. So because of that, I'm gonna do something different. Starting with this episode, I'm gonna give away some stuff to my viewers. So I'm gonna give away this pretty cool Flintstones, Fred Flintstone and Barney t-shirt. I got this from Old Navy. Of course, I'm not gonna give away this t-shirt because the winner might be bigger or smaller than me. So all you have to do is subscribe, like, and comment on the comment section below with your Instagram username. Again, you have to subscribe, you have to like, and you have to comment on the comment section with your Instagram username, and I will pick a winner by the end of the day, and the winner wins this very cool Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble Flintstones t-shirt from Old Navy. I'm gonna send it to your doorstep, but I'm gonna need your username. That's why you need to put it in the comment section below so that I can communicate with you on Instagram and get your details if you are the winner. Again, I'm giving away this t-shirt, this cool retro Flintstones t-shirt from Old Navy, to a lucky winner who subscribes, likes, and comments with their Instagram username in the comment section below. If nobody comments, nobody wins. So I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna try something new to see if I can ramp up my subscribers and my comments. We're currently at 147 subscribers, so thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far. I need a whopping 1,000 subscribers so I can start monetizing my YouTube channel. And once I do start monetizing my channel, I promise I'm gonna give away more stuff or better stuff to all my viewers. So we're back to the topic today. Ricky remembers his favorite kinds or his favorite types of bread while growing up in the Philippines. I'm actually right here behind Porto's Bakery. I don't know if you can see it, but this building right here, I'm gonna show you some footage later on, but that is Porto's Bakery, arguably the most popular bakery here in LA. They have a location in Glendale, they also have a store in Burbank, and now they have one here in Buena Park. I'm here in Buena Park in Los Angeles, California, remembering my favorite types of bread or my favorite kinds of bread growing up in the Philippines. Again, we're at Porto's Bakery. They're a famous Cuban bakery here in LA, and they're known for their very yummy cheese rolls. I haven't had cheese rolls that good ever in my life. They're really good, and if ever you're here in LA, you have to make a stop at Porto's Bakery and try their cheese rolls. They really are the best, and they're very affordable. So back to the topic at hand. Ricky remembers his favorite kinds of bread or his favorite types of bread while growing up in the Philippines. We're gonna start with this bread called Putok. Putok was this very dense bread back in Manila, and it had pointy things on top of it, almost like a pineapple, but it was spiked like Bart Simpson's head. I don't know how they baked that, but it was this small dense bread with sugar on top, and it was very filling when you eat it. You just need a couple of those and you're good to go for merienda. So I remember Putok, and I also remember, of course, no episode about bakeries or bread in the Philippines is complete without mentioning Kababayan. Kababayan was this small bread also, which was shaped like a sailor's hat. We actually made fun of it, where we would actually, when we were kids, we would actually wear it on our heads because it resembled a yellow, creamy sailor's hat. But it was very yummy. I remember it being very creamy and very sweet, but very rich. The Kababayan, and I would gobble through maybe 4 or 5 of those when I was a kid. Sometimes they would burn it a little bit, so the edges of the brim of the hat would be a little burned, and it added some flavor to it. So Kababayan was this bread that's very soft, very tender, but very creamy and very rich. One of my favorites. And now we go to the pan or the pande categories. There's a lot of them. Number one is, of course, our morning favorite, the pandesal. Pandesal. So pandesal, literally, if you translate it, is salt bread or bread with salt. But it was bread that was available only in the mornings in the bakeries, and sometimes I remember you would buy maybe a dozen of those, and they'd put it in a paper bag. It's this brown thin paper bag, so there was no plastic or anything, so it was eco-friendly even back then. And sometimes it would come with a bar of butter. The bakery would give you some butter with it, but it was very tasty. It was very light, so you would dip that in your morning coffee or your chocolate milk for breakfast in the morning in Manila or in the Philippines. And every morning, no fail, we would need to buy pandesal from our neighborhood bakeries for breakfast. Next, we have Panda Koko. Panda Koko was this circular bread, very small also, but inside it was filled with coconut shavings mixed with brown sugar. So just a touch of brown sugar so that it's a little sweet, but it was coconut shavings, and it was very delicious. So yeah, it was this bread where it was filled with coconut shavings inside and a little hint of brown sugar so that it was sweet. Panda Koko, hence the name Panda Koko, because it was coconut shavings. Next we have the Panda Regla. Oh, that's a terrible name, but I'm not sure if that's the official name of it, but I guess that's what people ended up calling it, Panda Regla, because it was this bread that was shaped like this, but in the center it had this filling, but it was red. That's why it was called Panda Regla. It resembled that. You know what I'm talking about. So Panda Regla came in two colors actually. There was one that was in red and one that was in violet. It was red and violet. And I remember when I was growing up, my merienda would constitute Panda Regla, either red or violet, and I would pair it with a royal. There was a time in the 80s when Royal came out with Royal Strawberry and Royal Grape. You know, of course, Royal is known for the orange drink, but they came out with Royal Strawberry and Royal Grape. And what I would do is, depending on the Panda Regla that I would buy, if I bought the Panda Regla that was red, I would buy Royal Strawberry. If I bought the Panda Regla that was violet, I would buy the Royal Grape. And that would be my merienda for the day. I did that for maybe a month, where almost every day I had that as merienda. So next we have Spanish bread. Spanish bread. As I said, Porto's bakery is a Cuban bakery, but in the Philippines we had this bread that we called Spanish bread. It was almost like it was an elongated piece of bread, and it had it had powdery stuff on it, so it had a different texture. But inside of it was butter, and like a creamy butter and sugar. So it was also sweet, but it was inside, but it was very mild. It was just a hint of sweetness. It wasn't like filling with, it wasn't brimming with butter and sugar. It was just a hint, a slight taste of it, and it was very tasty. And just like the pandesal, it's very light. So Spanish bread was also a staple of many breakfasts and meriendas in the Philippines. And then, of course, we go next to Ensaymada. Ensaymada was this swirl. It was bread that was shaped like a swirl, but in between the swirls was loads of butter, and then on top of it lots of sugar. So it was a very sweet bread, but also very rich because of the butter. So what we would do is we would untwirl that and then eat it, or we can just take a bite out of it. So Ensaymada was a bigger kind of bread compared to a Putok or a Kababayan or a Panda Koko. So it was bigger, and one of those would be enough. You don't need 4 or 6 or even 3. Just one would be enough to fill a little kid's tummy. So that's Ensaymada. And my favorite, I remember my favorite growing up, because I didn't have it every day because it was a little bit more expensive than the others. If Kababayan was 50 cents or 1 peso back then, there was egg pie. And egg pie was around 3.50 or almost 5 pesos. Please, guys, help me remember how much egg pie was back in the 80s. But egg pie, as the name states, was this pie. It had a crust around it, but it was made of egg, and it was very. It was like a custard. There you go. That would be the best definition. It was like egg custard, and the top was burned a little bit, so it was a dark brown, almost black. So there was like a layer of brown sugar on top of the, or burned custard on top of the egg pie. So egg pie was a treat. Maybe I would have it once a week or once every 2 weeks because it was more expensive. But it also felt a little unhealthy to eat egg pie every day because, as I said, it's loaded with eggs and very rich. So once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks, I would treat myself to an egg pie on a Friday. But I didn't buy it every day because it was just too much. It was too sweet and it was too rich. And of course, no episode or no discussion about Filipino breads and bakeries would be complete without Monay. Monay was the simple bread, and you would put peanut butter in it, or coconut jam, or even as a hamburger bun. So Monay was just this plain bread, but you had to put something inside it when you eat it or when you ate it. So it was used for sandwiches, Monay. And then, of course, there's a donut. You know, it was a plain donut. There were donuts being sold in the bakeries back then, but this was different in the sense it was just a plain donut, but it was sprinkled with sugar all over. So it was very sweet, and I remember when I bite into it, you know that Filipino term, yung nangingilo, yung ngipin mo, because there's just too much sugar. It's just plain. It was a plain donut, but sprinkled with sugar all over. Very sweet, like the Ensaymada. I can only have one of those because it was bigger. It was very sweet. I knew it was so bad for my teeth. So the donut in the Philippines was just a regular donut, but sprinkled with sugar all over. So there you have it, the types of bread, or my favorite types of bread growing up in the Philippines in the 80s. Putok, Ricky remembers Putok, Kababayan, Pandesal, Panda Koko, Panda Regla, red and violet, Spanish bread, Ensaymada, egg pie, Monay, and donut. Now, it makes me wonder because almost every neighborhood or every community has a neighborhood bakery in the street or in the corner, and all of them serve the same kinds of bread. Everyone had Monay, everyone had Potok, everyone had Kababayan, and Spanish bread and Pandesal. So it makes you think, was there an association of sorts or a union of sorts? And they all agreed that they were all going to serve the same kinds of bread. Did they share all the same recipes and so on? But I felt like there was an underground mafia of Filipino bakeries because they really did serve the same bread all over. It was the same. Everyone had the same. You can go to any bakery and they would offer the same suite of breads in those bakeries. So for myself, I was in my childhood. We were living in an apartment in E. Amang Rodriguez Avenue in Pasig, and our neighborhood bakery there was this bakery called Philmar's. After a few years, it became Pedmar's, but that was the neighborhood bakery that we grew up with, and it was owned by a good friend of mine. Their family, Marco Briones. Marco Briones, I reconnected with him recently when I was still in Manila, and we talked about those good old days when they made bread and sold bread. So Marco Briones, this episode is dedicated to you, my friend. Kumusta ka dyan? So our neighborhood bakery was Philmar's/Pedmar's in E. Amang Rodriguez Avenue in Pasig. Please share in the comments who your neighborhood bakery was. Sometimes these bakeries don't even have names. They don't have signages. People just knew they were a bakery and that they sold bread, and they would just go there every day or every morning or every afternoon and they stayed in business for years because they, people always flocked to the bakeries because they knew they were always served the same type of bread and the quality was always the same. So there was never a huge chain until Julie's came along, but there was never a huge chain that consolidated all these bakeries. And I really feel that if we had a Filipino bakery here in California, we would give Porto's a run for its money. So there you have it. Ricky remembers his favorite kinds of bread growing up in Manila in the 80s. Ricky remembers Putok, Kababayan, Panda Koko, Panda Regla, Spanish bread, Ensaymada, egg pie, Monay, and donut. So again, as I said, please subscribe, like this video, and comment with your Instagram username in the comment section, and you might get to win this Flintstones t-shirt with Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble from Old Navy. To qualify for the raffle, please comment with your Instagram username at the bottom. If you don't want to join the contest, simply subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified of future episodes of Ricky Remembers. Again, thank you for subscribing, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. This has been Ricky Bizes for Ricky Remembers. Peace, love, courage.